Happy New Year to you all. It's really difficult at this time of year. You know, you wake up January the 1st and you wonder what's ahead of you for the whole year, whether you'll get pregnant, whether your IVF will work, how things will be. So, what I want to do with this webinar today is talk to you about taking charge of your fertility. And I think, what I've noticed over the years with women is that they are overwhelmed by information, by social media, by apps, gadgets, and gizmos. And I think very often you can lose sight of what you can do for yourself. And one of the things I always sort of talk to my clients about is taking the control and doing what you have control over. And you do have control over a lot of what goes on for you with fertility in terms of optimizing your chances. This is really, really important when you feel that you don't have control. So that's one of the main themes I want to get through today with you. So what we're going to be covering in this webinar is, many of you will know me. I'm the founder of the Zita Clinic. I'm the founder of Zita Products. I've written lots and lots of books. I'm a mum, a grandmother. And also my huge belief is integrating mainstream medicine with a holistic approach. And that is really, really important. The medical side and the holistic side work so well together. So what we're going to be covering today, we're going to be looking at lifestyle, diet, supplements, how you can optimize and improve egg and sperm health, looking at the fertile window and what you can do to try and conceive faster, understanding the impact that hormones have and stress have on your fertility, the common mistakes that couples make, and looking at some of the underlying factors that might be slowing up your ability to conceive faster, hormonally, such as thyroid, PCOS, endometriosis, etc. So what are the main hormonal and cycle issues that many of you will encounter or come across as you're trying to conceive? And this, for many, it will be the pill. Some of you will be just thinking about coming off the pill, having been on the pill for 10 years or more. And I think it's important with the pill that when you first come off, you don't wait for it to go out of your cycle. You start trying straight away, because there are some studies to show that you've got a better chance of conceiving when you first come off the pill. But also, I think what it's important to say as well, it can take 7 to 9 months of cycle disturbances when you first come off the pill. But if your periods don't return or they stay very irregular, I think you need to get in contact with your GP to have blood tests and everything done to make sure that you're not delaying your chances of conceiving by hormonal issues. Irregular cycles, that can be down to all sorts of things. It can be post-pill, it can be thyroid issues, it can be PCOS, it can be over or underweight. But the more irregular your cycles are, means the gap between periods is much longer. So your opportunity to be able to conceive in any 1 month is slowed right down. Instead of having the opportunity 12 times a year, it might only be 6 times a year if your cycles are irregular. Ovulation issues are a really common cause of fertility issues when you ovulate. Stress comes into its own when you're trying for a baby. Life is stressful enough, but dealing with uncertainty is certainly stressful and difficult. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that as we go through this webinar. Underlying medical conditions, and that can be something as, like anemia, heavy periods, or thyroid issues, or autoimmune, or endometriosis. There's a whole myriad of underlying conditions that may be hindering your chances of getting pregnant, such as the thyroid. But one important question you should always ask your mother is at what stage she had her menopause, because early menopause in your 40s may mean that you might go into an early menopause as well. And perimenopause, it happens about 10 years before the menopause, when you start to notice cycle changes. So inside the mind of a woman trying for a baby, those of you are just listening and thinking, right, we're thinking about having a baby this year. You've just sort of woken up and decided this is going to happen, and it's really exciting, and the sex is great, and it's like, will it, won't it happen this month? Fantastic. But give it 6 or 9 months, and that's when the anxieties and the worries start to set in. That is there something wrong? And I spend a lot of time managing a woman's expectations, because on average, it can take 7 to 9 months to conceive. And so many women will come along and say, I want to do everything I can, have every test I can. And I always have to say that fertility isn't black and white. There's lots of shades of grey. And there's lots and lots of tests you can keep doing, and going on for forever. So I think the simple thing is, having a lots of sex is really, really key. I think as well, understanding if there are any family issues or medical issues that you may have. Thyroid is quite a common one. When I ask that question, lots of women's mothers have got thyroid issues, or sisters, and that can sort of hinder your chances. But the mindset to me is absolutely key, because when you are trying for a baby, you can do absolutely everything. Life can become really, really difficult, but mind body blocks are a very important part of what I do. And you can see from these headings here, or these bubbles, and you're probably relating to these, because this is probably what you're thinking or feeling as well at certain points of your journey. But if your mindset isn't great and you feel very low, it's really hard to be motivated to do everything. So everything I do always starts with mindset and building up your confidence to be able to go on to do other things. But that is, a really important key for me. So key areas to focus on when you're trying for a baby. One is your age. Age is the biggest impact on has the biggest impact on getting pregnant. So if you are in your early 30s and it takes on average of 8 or 9 months to conceive, you can see that if you want more than one child, the sooner you can start, the better. But the fact is with age as well, when you get into your early 40s, 43, 44, 45, the chances of getting pregnant are greatly reduced. The miscarriage rate is much higher. And so, I think it's important to be able to assess your fertility. And this is done by various blood tests, looking at your egg reserves. And the whole fact is that some women, regardless of age, have better egg reserves than others. So they stand a better chance. But the younger you are, even if your egg reserves are lower, I see many women go on to get pregnant. And I think what's hard is, you suddenly landed with a label. So, low AMH, poor egg quality, etc., which has a huge impact on your psyche. And many women do go on to get pregnant. The TikTok of the biological clock. So many women I see come in when they're 34 and they're convinced at 35 that all their eggs are going to fall off a cliff. This is not the case. Some women are luckier than others when it comes to the biological age factor. And dealing with uncertainty, and this is really hard. Nobody in life likes dealing with uncertainty, and especially when you are trying for a baby and everyone around you seems to be getting pregnant and it's not happening for you. It's easy for this to sort of take over your whole life. One of the factors I mentioned earlier is mindset, is the labels that you're given. And I really do believe that every woman enters fertility with their own unique set of baggage from the past, the present, into the future. And, I will often ask, is there anything in your psyche that's stopping this from happening for you? And very often those answers are, I've had a termination in the past, so I feel guilty and it's not going to happen for me. I've had everything. I've got a great husband, a great house, but there's this niggle. I'm not going to be the lucky one when it comes to being able to get pregnant. Abuse, trauma in childhood, violent relationships, all of this adds to the fertility mix when it comes to belief and self-belief that it's going to be able to happen. So I always encourage women to not do everything at one time. Just look across a set of things like your mindset, your diet, your lifestyle, your energy reserves, and work out where the weaknesses lie. And then you can sort of like have more control over what you can achieve. And the biggest temptation in January is to wake up January the 1st and saying, right, I'm not drinking, I'm going to eat well, I'm exercising. You can't do it. It won't last. It just will not last. So what you need to focus on in January is, where is your biggest weakness? What is your biggest challenge? And work on that. And so if it's your mindset, decide every day, routinely, you're going to breathe, you're going to do some meditation, you're going to do a visualization, something that is just going to help your mindset and get you to feel more motivated. Once that starts to happen, you can sort of move on to another challenge, and you can build it up like that throughout the month. Okay, so the reason I talk about delays, it's about working within a time frame. So what do I mean by that time frame? And as you can see from here, you can see that, you start off trying, you've tried for 3 months, 5 months, you get pregnant, then you miscarry, which is really, really common. A miscarriage is very, very common in the first pregnancy. Then you move on to do IVF, IVF fails, and you can see 2 years have gone. So I think you need to start being strategic about your fertility. And what I mean about that is looking at everything you can do that's within your control. So look at the weaknesses. Are you drinking too much? Are you exercising too little? Are you working too hard? How is your sleep? What can you do to build up your reserves? Are you having enough sex? Are you really stressed? And it's important to work within a time frame, because you can see from this time frame, from those of you that are watching this and just starting out, if you are 34 or 35 and nothing's happened for 6 months, then you need to think about tests, etc., especially if you're over 35 or if you're 40. And again, if you've had a miscarriage, you've got to build yourself up again to start. And it's the same with IVF. So don't wait a whole year if you are older. And I know this is difficult because you're told to go to your doctor when it's a year. But I think if you've had a history of miscarriages, if you are older and if you're 40, I think you need to sort of get help sooner. And there are many clinics around that can do a lot of these fertility tests, etc., to help you make a decision. So one of the things I see as well, and I'm a huge believer in therapies, acupuncture and hypnotherapy and reflexology, all of these therapies are great, but they need to be used in conjunction with the medical side and within a time frame. So it's not uncommon for me to have a woman that's come off the pill. She doesn't want to do anything that's medical. She wants to just sort of like try hypno, try acupuncture, try reflexology, and then suddenly a year's gone and she's not had any periods. And really, that's when medical side can really help kick in and help you. It's the same if you're not ovulating. There's a lot that can be done to help you, especially with irregular cycles, PCOS, supplements, etc. But do work within that time frame, because the biggest thing I see when I'm seeing clients is them looking back and have regrets, thinking, I wish I had done something sooner. So the focus today is on trying to conceive naturally. It's looking at your age and the time trying. And these are the two things I always look at: age and time trying. And when I say time trying, I mean really, really, really trying. Having sex frequently, at least 3 times a week. Looking at your medical history and any underlying factors that are going on for you. So little red flags such as heavy periods, painful periods, may be an indication about that there are some underlying factors such as fibroids, etc. Looking at your cycle and how regular it is, 28 days to 35 is fine, but any longer means that ovulation will be compromised through hormones. IVF failures, unexplained infertility, and we see so much of that in IVF clinics when it can't be explained. And it's a really tricky one and unexplained, because it might mean that there are certain tests that you haven't had, because every clinic does different things, and the NHS works in a different way as well. And also secondary fertility issues. I see this so often where women will come to me and say, we didn't even think about getting pregnant the first time, and now I can't get pregnant the second time. And that can be down to many factors. It can be down to a toddler sleeping in your bed, being exhausted, thyroid kicked out of kilter, working too hard, stress, etc. So this is the focus what I want to talk about today. But I really do believe there is a chemistry to baby making, and fertility to me is a whole body event. It's not just something that happens in the fallopian tubes. And you know, when you think about when you first meet somebody and you fall in love and you're having lots of sex, there's a huge chemistry going on there because all the hormones are being produced, and man is producing testosterone, etc. And give it a year when sex becomes mechanical and there's a lot of friction and frustration and pressure, that chemistry changes. So, you know, you've got to look at mindset, you've got to look at the sex you're having, think about supplements, nutrition, lifestyle, but also, you know, it's looking after your relationship as well and being kind to one another, because that kindness goes when the blame game starts, especially when you start having tests. So it's important that you really, really do support one another. So hormones, sex, stress, and cycles. So when you think, and I always think this is really amazing, you know, when you look at this chart and you realize about the hormones, how they have to be produced in the right amount, in the right time, and they ebb and flow through the month in order to produce an egg, release an egg, mature an egg, fertilize an egg, and make it into an embryo. It's incredible, isn't it, that this can happen? And every cycle isn't the same. You're going to have better eggs in some months than you are in other months, depending on what's going on in your life. So, you know, when you focus about what hormones are relevant, put my glasses on for this bit, what hormones are relevant, you know, and how you act during your menstrual cycle. And being an acupuncturist, the Chinese always looked at lifestyle as well, based on cycles. So here you have the hormones, the fertility hormones. The important ones are FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, LH, luteinizing hormone, progesterone, and estrogen. And obviously, there are stress hormones as well. As you can see, the FSH starts very low and then it builds up as the month goes on towards ovulation. And it does what it says on the tin. It stimulates the follicles in the ovaries to grow. And it gets to a certain level mid-month when it's done its job. And then what kicks in is estrogen. You can say as well, estrogen works alongside, and estrogen helps to grow the eggs and it helps to mature the eggs. And then right at the middle of the cycle, when ovulation is about to happen, you have luteinizing hormone. And what this does, it triggers ovulation. So then the other hormones start to drop, and then what starts to increase is progesterone, which warms the womb, thickens the lining, ready for fertilization and for that embryo to implant. So, you know, you can see here the egg growth as it grows and grows and grows. The egg is released, it produces the corpus luteum, which is called the yellow body, and that's when the progesterone rises. So the other thing you're looking at as well is your secretions. And, you know, when your menstrual cycle happens, those secretions start to grow as you lead up to ovulation, and they form ladders for the sperm to be able to swim up and also to nourish that sperm. But it also is the indication of your fertile time. So it's really, really important to have a note of those secretions and you know, look for them. Don't just rely on your app. And then as the month goes on, the womb line is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, ready to wait for that egg. And so, you know, I always feel as well with with your menstrual cycle. You know, that first start when you have your period, it's about reflection, it's about going back into yourself, it's about resting, nourishing and nurturing yourself with iron rich foods for the blood you're losing. And then as you go through up to ovulation, and you do feel tired when you menstruate, you feel exhausted, you go to sleep early, etc. So don't fight it. Then as ovulation comes, you know, you're starting to feel a bit more sexier, a bit more outgoing, and then ovulation happens, and then you're looking at the second half of the cycle when progesterone kicks in, and you've got that awful 2-week wait when you find out to whether you're pregnant or not. So the fertile window is different in every woman, and it depends on where you are in your cycle. So the first day of bleed is the first day of your heavy bleed, your first day of your menstrual cycle. And you can see as it goes round, you've got the follicular phase, you've got ovulation, then you've got the luteal phase. And so that fertile window is 5 to 6 days, but it does depend on when your cycle is. So if your cycle is 28 days, that's likely to occur around day 14. So you should be having sex in the lead up to ovulation. So, you know, 5 or 6 days before. If your cycle is 35 days, then you're looking at ovulate the fertile window and ovulation around 17. So you should be having sex around day 12. If it's longer, 41 days, then there may be a few issues going on with ovulation. And if it's shorter, around day 23 days, then it's going to be earlier in your cycle, around day 11, 12. So really, some of you might even be starting to having sex just after your period is ending. So it's important to sort of really understand that fertile window and how important it is for your fertility. So one of the things that I'm often asked is, you know, can you use too much sperm up? And should you save the sperm up? Don't save the sperm. You know, the more you save the sperm, the poorer it's going to be, especially if it's not being turned over, because it will take 4 to 5 ejaculates to get that sperm going again. So really sort of think about that. And it's a common thing, a common mistake that women make and men make, because they think, oh, thank God ovulation is over, we can now have a break. Well, you've got to keep the sperm going, because it's all going to die off. Focus on the sperm, not the egg, because the sperm lasts 3 to 5 days. The egg is a random event. Ovulation is a random event, and that egg will last 12 to 24 hours. Throw away your charts, you know, the temperature charts and the constant bleep, bleep, bleep of the thermometer is an absolute passion killer. So throw away your charts. Your temperature will change if you're sick, if you've been drinking, if you're stressed, if you've got a cold, flu, etc. Fine if you're just starting, thinking, right, January, February, do it for 2 or 3 months, but then don't have the perpetual obsession of looking at your temperature. Take the pressure off each other, especially around ovulation. That is the biggest pressure point for so many couples, because a woman will be just focused on this for the month, nervous that week ovulation's coming up. Her partner is at work, you know, getting text messages about coming home. Then they have a row and then nothing happens. So take that pressure off. Don't tell your partner every minute detail that's going on for you. He really doesn't need to know. And it's just putting a lot of pressure on him. The aim is have sex throughout the month, at least 3 to 4 times a week. And that means you're covering every base, but don't tell him about ovulation and don't put that pressure on. Work on your stress levels and your mindset, because this is really, really important. For a man to be able to have sex, he's got to have a good flow of testosterone. If he's got performance anxiety and feeling pressured, it's much harder for that to flow, and then he can't sort of have sex and he worries about it. But there's lots of ways that you can do. I often encourage couples, if this is the issue, to get a self-insemination kit off the internet and be able to self-inseminate, so that the pressure is off, that he doesn't have to perform at that minute in time. But look after your relationship, because it's easy to lose the closeness that you had when you first started trying. So fertility red flags. And these are things that, if you just started trying for a baby, you need to look at something. So I would always think, if you've just come off the pill and your cycles haven't returned, seek help sooner. If you've got irregular cycles, it may be an underlying factor of thyroid, PCOS, various things like that. And so, chart, note when your cycles are, and if, I'm talking not 30 days. 30 days isn't irregular if you go from 28 to 30. But if you're looking at 41, 50, then you need to get help. Again, spotting between cycles, make sure your smear tests are up to date, because again, this could be an indication of cervical cancer, but it also can be an indication of an erosion or something else going on for you. Very heavy periods may mean endometriosis with pain. It may mean that you might be slightly anemic. Again, getting that checked. Age is the biggest factor as well. And I said this early on, there's a fine line between how long you try naturally when you first start trying at 38, 40, to if you are 30, 31. So, get the help you need sooner. I mentioned about talking about early menopause. Perimenopause, that happens 10 years before before the menopause starts. And so if you're in your late 30s, early 40s, you are going to start noticing some differences hormonally. But the good thing is, no matter what age you are, that fertile window remains the same. So it's really key to keep having as much sex as you can. So looking at lifestyle, I'm often asked about lifestyle, and the work-life balance is a big thing between couples. And we've had the pandemic and all of that, so work and life have become a bit sort of merged together, especially if you're working from home and working together. But do try and get some sort of balance. Don't let fertility be the be all and end all where your life is on hold. And that's what I see so many couples, especially women, do. Focus on this as a project. Don't try to do too much. I see women that are doing their houses, doing extensions, moving, traveling, really sort of like put your energy and your mindset into try and make this work for you by doing as much as you can to optimize your chances. Look at your energy stores. I often ask women, what your energy level's like. And I think I can't remember one woman saying to me, oh, my energy's great. I'm, jumping around all the place. Things like this, things like fertility and uncertainty, they drag you down and they drag your energy down, and they make you feel, not motivated. So the way you build your energy up is working on your brain levels, dealing with breathing, meditation, going to bed early, sleep, all these things that are going to build your reserves up, and also nurturing yourself and being kind to yourself. Women are really, really hard on themselves when it comes to fertility. And what you need to do is build up your nutritional reserves, because, it's not just what you eat now. It's when you're pregnant, it's the nutrient reserves you have, and really work on your stress and your stressors and what trigger you. And putting a bit of energy into this is really, really important, because it's very easy to cut off from life and friends and families and socializing when you're trying for a baby, because you have a lot of emotional triggers and people say really stupid things. But you've got to sort of like toughen up, and you've got to harden, you've got to sort of protect yourself more to be able to deal with this, because otherwise you're going to be miserable, and you're going to find that you're avoiding situations which you don't need to. You just need to get a bit more courage about how you're going to react. And I see this all of the time, especially coming out the Christmas period. So just bear all that in mind. So thinking about what depletes the body of nutrients, your lifestyle, if you are working hard, not eating properly, eating lots of processed foods, being too controlled as well, will, can deplete your body of nutrients. Over exercise can, stress can, lack of sleep, certain medications such as steroids, which some women are on, can deplete you of vitamin D, poor diet, and also your environment. So it is important to build up your nutrient reserves. I'm a huge believer in supplements. Um, I don't say you should use supplements to supplement. I don't think a diet, your supplement should substitute your diet. But I do think in this day and age, you do need to have supplements to help optimize your chances. And I do a whole range of supplements, but the important thing for me about the supplements that we do is I'm very much involved in the formulations of the supplements, the research of the supplements, putting the best I can into them. So it's looking at bioavailability of the nutrients that are put in there, which means they're easily absorbed by the body. The quality of the ingredients is really important to me as well, because there are different forms of vitamin C, magnesium, vitamin D, etc. But the right forms, some forms are better than others at helping you absorb. So we always make sure that's happening. The fact that they're studied and researched is important to me as well. And again, that they're the best that they can be, and they've got really key nutrients in that are going to help you. So one of the questions asked as well is, can I improve the quality of my eggs and sperm? And certainly 10 years ago, if you went to a clinic and asked this, it would be, no, there's nothing you can do. I honestly believe there is so much you can do. I know a woman is born with all the eggs she is ever going to possess, and they're genetically determined. But, the important thing is that the lifestyle or the environment that the eggs are growing in are determined, by your lifestyle, the food you eat, the supplements you take, your vitamins, minerals, etc. So, when you look at the anatomy of an egg, it's 550 times bigger than the sperm is. And the reason being is it's got the largest mitochondria in the body. And so, when you look at it first, you look at the follicular fluid, the fluid that surrounds the egg and nourishes the egg. That has to be, rich in certain nutrients such as antioxidants, which protect from ROS or free radical damage. And at a low level, this is good. But if you're drinking lots of alcohol, if you're smoking, if you've got a poor diet, those free radicals are going to be higher. So what does the follicular fluid need? It needs vitamin D. It needs inositol. It needs protection from free radicals. So antioxidants such as vitamin C, E, NAC, a whole ream of antioxidants that will help in that fluid. And, the studies show that if the follicular fluid is rich in certain nutrients, uh, especially like vitamin D, especially if you're doing IVF, you've got a better chance of a healthier eggs. And then, when you start to look at the cell membrane of the egg here, this little circle around, and what cell membranes do is they allow nutrients into the cell and out of the cell. And it needs to be flexible, and the way that that flexibility works is with fatty acids. So things like EPA and DHA, omega-3, help soften, help keep that cell membrane flexible, but also helps with immune, helps with inflammation, all sorts of other things that fatty acids do. And then, when you look at the mitochondria, and as I said, the mitochondria of the cell is the powerhouse. And when I said what an egg needs to achieve, it has to ovulate, it has to fertilize, it has to divide to make an embryo. So it needs a lot of energy. So ubiquinol, CoQ10, which we have in our products, helps that energy process that goes on in the mitochondria. And then you're looking at the nucleus, the RNA and the DNA, the genetic material. And what's important for that is folate, not folic acid. Folic acid is a synthetic version. Folate is far more bioavailable to the cells. So, different cells have different components and they have different needs. And that's what we've tried to do with the products, is focus on the key nutrients that you need, often more of than you will be able to get from the food that you are eating. And then you look at the sperm. A sperm needs exactly the same as what an egg needs, but men are very lucky. They're producing sperm 24/7, 7 days a week. And sperm varies throughout the year as well. That's why if you get a poor result, it's looking at repeating that test to see what needs to happen. So, when you're looking at the head of the sperm, that's where the DNA, the genetic material is. And the most important job a sperm has for a man is to deliver that genetic material. So you need to protect the head of the sperm, which has got the cell membrane that needs to be flexible, and it requires omega-3. And when you think about the mitochondria of the cell, it's tiny compared to the egg, but men are producing millions and millions of sperm that need energy to be able to drive and wriggle their way and fertilize the egg. So coenzyme Q10 here. Again, the antioxidants are really important in the semen that nourishes the sperm. And again, with the tail of the sperm, it needs protection from protection from free radicals, so antioxidants. It needs DHA. Vitamin D receptors are on sperm and the ovary. Good rich antioxidants to help improve sperm. The other thing that I think is really, we know so much more now, is about the probiotics in terms of the microbiome in the egg and the sperm, which I'll come on to talk to. So I've covered some of this already. The egg is the largest cell in the body. It needs vitamin D for the follicular fluid, 400 milligrams of folate, not folic acid, coenzyme Q10, 200 milligrams. Women do take more than this for if they're going through IVF, because they need, produce more eggs. Inositol, important in the follicular fluid. It's also important for irregular cycles, polycystic ovaries. I put a lot of women on inositol who are older because it helps mature eggs as well. Cell membranes, omega-3, and again, the antioxidants. So we have VitaFem, which is here. Can't find it now. And again, it's got the folate in it, which is important, especially if you've got something called MTHFR, which requires conversion. So folic acid, it's harder for that to work. That's where folate is important. And it gives you all the sort of things you need if you're just starting to try for a baby. I've talked about ubiquinol, which are these little tablets here. Again, every cell in the body needs it. It produces energy. There's a lot of work going on now around mitochondrial health, and it's vital for egg fertilization and energy. Many studies around, which we have on our website. The version we have is Canica, so it is naturally yeast fermented, bioidentical, and it's more absorbable, able to convert to CoQ10. So ubiquinol is excellent, really good. Inflammation, there is so much now we understand about inflammation, and I think with chronic illnesses, but also with fertility, autoimmune diseases, endometriosis, they're all inflammatory conditions, and this can cause a rise in free radical damage, depletion of nutrients. So looking at antioxidants, looking at omega-3, fiber, and also vitamin A, beta carotene, are really important, and encouraging an anti-inflammatory diet for women that do have autoimmune disorders, endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, thyroid antibodies, etc., is really key. DHA. So most people know now what omega-3 is. EPA and DHA are important for fertility, but also in pregnancy. And their role is designed to protect the partner's DNA from damage, and support normal, healthy sperm production and egg support. So we get asked a lot about DHA. You know, is it good? Is it contaminated? Ours is ultra pure, molecularly distilled to ensure it's free from all contaminants, including mercury, and it does not contain vitamin A. And these are questions that we're asked a lot. So, what is the role of antioxidants? You read about this the whole time. The role of antioxidants in the body is to neutralize the free radicals that are produced by poor diet, stress, lots of exercise, poor living, etc. So they are important, and um, a wide a variety in different colors. A variety in different colors is what you should be aiming for. Um, in Vitafem Boost, we have these extra antioxidants which help neutralize free radicals. So free radicals are linked to poor egg quality, and they are linked to autoimmune disorders, which I've talked about. So, you know, we in our Vitafem Boost, we have things like NAC, we have things like ALP, resveratrol, all of the things that are strong antioxidants that are going to sort of help supplement your diet for egg health. We also have Vitamin Boost 1 and 2 for men. And again, you know, talking about free radical damage, damage to the head of sperm, eating a good diet, a variety of colors is obviously the best way to do this, but supporting your diet with the antioxidants needed, which have been linked to poor sperm quality and low count and low motility. So these have different amounts in compared to the female version. So they have extra coenzyme Q10, we're looking at lipeic acid, NAC, all lycopene, all the things that are going to help optimize male fertility. So looking at immunity, and you know, many women do have immune issues. Again, antioxidants, vitamin D, zinc is vitally important for cellular health, omega-3, polyphenols, vitamin C, and selenium. I think most of us know now about vitamin D and its role in general health. Certainly during COVID, there wasn't a day that went by when vitamin D wasn't mentioned. So we know it's important for men and for women that are trying to conceive. It's also important in terms of it's a sunshine vitamin, and many women and men that we see are depleted in this valuable vitamin, which is needed for sperm production and egg production. And even now, the NHS suggest that people take vitamin D as a protection for respiratory diseases and for helping with immune issues. One of the most exciting things that's happened this year in terms of the products is we've known for a long time about the vaginal microbiome, and many clinics now test for the microbiome by doing biopsies from the uterus. But we also now know that the role of this important probiotic, lactobacillus, has a big impact on the reproductive tract health. It has a big impact on reproductive health, and it's been linked to underlying issues such as cystitis, sexual transmitted infections, implantation around IVF. And that's all to do with the endometrial health as well. So if women have got poor microbiome, in terms are lacking in lactobacillus, haven't got the right amount, it can mean that the reproductive tract is compromised when it comes to getting pregnant, staying pregnant, and IVF success. And one of the great things about this product is that it has the research to back it. So, like I said earlier, it's a species of bacteria called lactobacillus, play a vital role in keeping the environment of the reproductive tract acidic to prevent bacterial infections, urinary tract infections, thrush, etc. Recent research has shown that this bacteria also plays a vital role in fertility and pregnancy outcomes, and what you need to achieve is 90% dominance. So what is fascinating about this is you can see here with the research done that if somebody has dominant lactobacillus, 60% of women will go on to be able to receive the embryo. Non-dominant is 23%. I know, it depends on the embryos produced, etc. Looking here as well, positive pregnancy tests, getting pregnant with the right amount of lactobacillus, 70% will get pregnant as opposed to 33% that won't. And then again with pregnancy, having the right amount of lactobacillus, 58%, and again going on to have a baby. Now I know that every single step of the way when you're trying for a baby, naturally or with IVF, is determined on many factors. It's not just about a probiotic, but it's great to know that this can help optimize and increase chances. So we have conceive, which this research has been done on, and it achieves a balanced endometrial vaginal microbiota and prepares the optimal environment for preconception. And it contains 1 billion friendly bacteria per capsule. And as I said, the strains are studied for fertility outcome. So the good thing is you can take this at any time. Good to take alongside with the other multivitamins and minerals, and build that microbiome up. And then we have, again, another well-researched supplement is Myo-inositol and fiber. And again, I use Myo-inositol for all sorts of different areas when it comes to fertility. So if a woman's got an irregular cycle, if she's got PCOS, it can the studies show it can help regulate a cycle. If a woman is older, Myo-inositol is linked to helping with maturing eggs. So it's rich in the follicular fluid, and it's well worth taking. It's a powder, and it does help. It helps with weight loss. It helps balance blood sugar throughout the day as well, alongside with fiber. So studies have shown that Myo-inositol can improve reproductive outcomes in both men and women. It can be taken by women with PCOS, irregular cycles, women that are trying to support their egg quality, and it can be taken for sperm as well, the sperm quality. So, interesting, very interesting. So PCOS and fertility, again, looking at your diet, looking at low glycemic index, healthy fats, good quality protein, less carbs, can have an impact on PCOS and fertility. But also, like I said, things like inositol are really good to take, DHA, all of these factors, but exercise, managing your weight, again, is equally as important. Being overweight or having lean PCOS, being underweight. So focusing on male fertility, men are more fortunate than women that they're producing sperm 24/7, but age is an impact as well. Men can go on to have children right into their 70s, but the older you are, the more DNA damage that there is likely to be. So looking at a medical history, and this means if your partner's had mumps as a child, or undescended testicles, it may mean, or a varicocele, it may mean the sperm may be affected, sperm production may be affected. So it's worth getting tested if you have any of these issues. Sexually transmitted infections have an impact on male fertility as they do on female fertility. Diet, lifestyle, and exercise also have an impact on male fertility. And the factors that we know, smoking, pollution, steroids, being overweight or underweight also affects a man. But a healthy sperm can last for 5 days up into the fallopian tube. And I know that, some men will have a sperm test and it looks great, but it doesn't tell us about the DNA damage. And like I said earlier, this is like the crown jewels. This is the most important role a man has, is to put the best genetic material into the egg when fertilized. So again, there are tests you can do. You can look at DNA fragmentation, but it's important that you do, stop smoking, stop drinking, build up the sperm over 100 days if you're just trying for a baby, and also take supplements as well. Avoid jacuzzis, hot yoga, all of those things, because we know that heat is detrimental to sperm. So what does sperm need? I said the same as the egg. They need vitamin D, they need folate for the nucleus, they need coenzyme Q10, DHA for the cell membranes. Zinc is lost in ejaculation, so men do need zinc. And then we do something called conceive, which is for the sperm microbiome, which is quite interesting after doing a lot of research this year. So we do, like we have for the women, we have femceive, which is for the vaginal microbiome. The sperm also has a microbiome, and we have menceive, and the research that's been done on this has been shown that it can help with the motility of the sperm and also reduced DNA fragmentation, which is great. So the vitamin we have is just one tablet, and it is to give the right nutrients for male fertility. So your plan for this year is working within a time frame, looking at your age and the time that you're trying, reassess the areas of your life that you need to improve, and focus on just one area at a time. So January, focus on where you need really working your energy, and where you need to build your energy, your reserves, etc. And just do one thing at a time, because if you have a whole list of things, you're not going to achieve it. What is your challenge? Think about what your challenge is for January. You don't even need to go beyond January. Just think about, what is your challenge? Is it sort of your diet? Is it your lifestyle? Is it exercising more? Is it meditation? Is it routine? Is it getting into a routine, a structure for changing your mindset, whatever? But write down your challenge for this month and try and do things that are going to help you achieve that challenge, and think about the adjustments that you need to make. So I hope this has helped you in some way. I'm going to be doing a lot during the year. I'm doing another webinar in January for IVF focus, but lots of free webinars, talks, etc. So please follow us on our newsletter. We're on Instagram, and look forward to supporting you this year. Thank you.